There was a chicken. I want to talk more about energy, and energy means the way you feel, the way you really are inside. I'm here with one of my friends, Guus. We call him Guus, that's Dutch. And Guus is a horse which is very balanced, and he likes me. Some of you will not imagine why. He likes me a lot, and he's a very balanced horse, so he doesn't have issues. And for me, after working some time with horses with issues, I like this very much because that means that he has a good base, good basic schooling. I know that in some training methods people talk about dominance, people talk about submission, and I would actually call it obedience. But I always hated the teachers in my schools who were saying you have to obey me, and if not I'm going to punish you. First of all, I always thought, well, you're too late if you're going to punish me. Second of all, I thought, why do you have to threaten me? Why don't you give me a try? Later on, I worked in several prisons, and I was working in a prison with young guys, young convicts under the age of 18. They didn't were there because they had sweaty hands or sweaty feet. They really did bad things, but most of them, actually each one of them, did those crimes in a group. They didn't do a lot individually. Energy of the group made them do things which normally people think about twice. But when the other one is feeding you, especially young boys, of course, are feeding each other. Anyway. The difference when these boys came to our prison, they had freedom, and it will sound when you're from another country where you don't have a system like that, they were actually preparing on the future. They had to go to school and stuff like that. So they had a lot of freedom. The difference in the teacher on one of the schools who said, so you think you're somebody and I'm going to get you and I'm going to punish you. I have to be aware because now he's pushing the wood, and he's always never mind, you can't see it. Yeah, that was your head. The difference in between the teacher who was saying I'm going to punish you already before anything ever happened, and the prison where I worked was that we said in that prison, every convict that comes here starts with a 10. Sorry, that was a 5. A 10. The teacher, which I told you about, said you start with a 1. You're nobody, and I'm going to show you that you're nobody. Well, why do I tell this story? Because it somehow represents the way your philosophy can be when it comes to horses. You can think a horse is nobody. You can also think a horse is perfect. I'm going to sit on his back, so I have to train him. So I'm going to give him a handicap, and the handicap is us, people. I know that there are some countries where they start to sit on a horse back at the age of 2. That's stupid. And I don't like to use words, I don't want to insult anybody ever, but that's really stupid. The result is that those horses get themselves into trouble, and it comes back in breeding, so they give. Anyway, it's really stupid because a horse in his head and in his body is still a child. Age of 3 years is a nice moment to start on carefully riding. Ride a little. Do some walk, do some trot, do some canter, nothing more. Anyway, so those horses at the age of 2 who are immature, who are really immature, in the head, in the brain, and also at the bones, they will get into trouble. The teacher that said, I'm going to punish you, also was immature. He thought he didn't like to teach. He didn't like his students. Well, the difference in between the prison, where we said you start with a 10, is that we liked the convicts and we really wanted to help them to get a better life. And that's a difference, and that's something you feel. And to be involved, I think it's not wrong. It's good to be involved. It's what you normally do with horses. He's pulling me a little bit because he's asking, so what are we doing here? Which also is also a horse with high energy. He always wants to move around or do something. I think with horses, I think they all are born with a 10. A horse is a perfect animal. He doesn't need us. We think he does. He doesn't need us at all. But, and there comes the clue, we keep them in prison ship. I also have stalls, stables, or whatever they're called in English, I don't know. Against the cold, the rain. My country is very, very wet, so I want to give them shelter. I want to give them enough food. I don't want them to have it get wet. And there's a lot of wind. Normally there's a lot of wind. Anyway, I'm not going to explain this. This is the way the horses live. So, since they are living in captivity, they need me. I have to be very sharp on things that change, health, food. For instance, he is not as fat as the golden guy. He's standing there, that's why I'm pointing. Kabul has become a little bit more fat. So each horse has a different diet. What would happen if they would live in the wild? I don't know. I'm not interested either, because they're not living in the wild at all. They're not living in nature. This is for them. This is their nature. This is where they live. Anyway. So, we have a responsibility. I have a responsibility. Now it's the end of summer. The horses have been outside for a long time. They have been walking in the field, so they could walk, they could run, they could move. They have some social interaction. They're not walking in the same field because stallions definitely will fight. And he's at the age. He's 7 years of age, so he's becoming a young, mature man. So he's looking for limits, for borders. That's another subject. It would be very nice, limits, because in the wild they have limits, they have borders, they have everybody knows what to do. Anyway, what I mean is you have the responsibility for your horse. You have to feed him, you have to take care of him, and I don't make a discussion anymore. I used to, but I'm not doing it anymore. Do I have to use a bit? Do I have to irons, shoes, horseshoes? Are those bad? And all those that shall I say it? Bullshit. It's not. It doesn't benefit the horse. There are some horses I know too who need shoes. There's a choice. If you leave the shoes behind, you can put them in the field, but that's all you can do. And if you want to ride them, they need shoes because otherwise their hooves get into trouble. If you disagree, well, it's your problem. But I know that if those horses would not be shoed, would not be taken care of, they would suffer. So he just did a poo there. I cannot say shit, I think. Somebody mailed me about some words I use. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make these movies in English. It's not my mother language, so I sometimes have to search for the words, and I do my very best to make interesting movies. Not for my benefit because it's so free, but for the benefit of them. Okay. So that's about captivity and the responsibility, starting with a 10, starting with a 0 or a 1. The 1 was because we were present. And I have to admit that the teacher, I wasn't friends with that man, and I actually hated that man because of the way he started. Okay, Monsieur says, now I'm going to eat your things. These are terrible things, of course. These are whips, and you will see that he has terrible. No, there's nothing because there's no energy behind it. So we're going to do something, and I hope it shows on the video. It's so funny to see yourself on this small TV screen. Time to do something because he's going to break